Yeah, how are you all doing? Got a video with the title, top line, Leave Them to God. This is on my mind, definitely in current moments. Every once in a while, I find myself needing to follow this advice myself. Let me just give that a disclosure. Practically every video that I make is advice and perspectives and just, you know, casual conversation that even applies to myself. So I'm never just talking to people. I be having to remind myself these things. And I guess one of the things I got to remind myself of more often as of lately is just leave them to God. What do I mean by that? Revenge, vengeance. All of that's supposed to be his. All of that's supposed to be his bag. All of that is supposed to be on his schedule. All of those things are supposed to be on his itinerary to address if and when and how and through whom and what and where he decides, if that makes sense. Uh, it's so hard for me to say this because ah, I can do better with this. I'm sure anybody listening to this can do better as well because we all can be better if you are trying your best to be like Christ or what the pure application of being a Christian is. So let's dive into it. A lot of things in this world are done in spite, done in a knee jerk reaction, done uh, subsequently, consequentially, uh, just flat out seeking revenge, getting even, um, seeking retribution. And this can span or apply all the way across the board. This can apply even to the most extreme examples that are very clear to people, such as gangs and retaliation and all of that stuff that gangs and the mafia and organized crime does. But it doesn't have to be that extreme. It can go to marriage. You know, people get divorces, which I don't know if that's backed. If I don't know if the concept and application of divorce as we know it is backed nearly as much as people want it to be backed by, I guess, scriptures or the Bible. I'm not saying that scriptures in the Bible just completely reject and say that divorce is wrong, but I think divorce is just a form of revenge more often than not, or a form of seeking retribution and retaliation. What else can I think of? Mm, just politically, as far as politics go, um, there's a lot of, well, just look at all of the Republicans that supported Trump. Oh, I mean, yeah, look at all of the Republicans who supported Trump versus the ones who didn't. And you can't tell me that's not some revenge seeking effort as well. Now, understand what I'm saying. Revenge and all of these things that I'm applying to leave it to God, let God handle it. It doesn't have to be physical, it can be psychological, it can be emotional, you know. Okay. I'm just trying to give you all a broad scope of how I can throw a dart at that board, and regardless of where it lands, it'll apply. Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Okay. Like that might seem kind of funny, but hypothetically, or regardless of what your opinion is, if what Chris Rock did was in fact wrong and disrespectful, and did maybe warrant some type of response or retribution or retaliation, getting up and slapping that man like that is not the right thing to do. That was like, I don't know. I could call it all of those words that I just used. Retribution, which might be the farthest one, and people don't apply that too much. So, in essence, that was an attempt at some retribution by Will Smith because, and this is my humble opinion, and follow me on this. Actually, no, this is a good example because this is going to articulate and paint why we all have revenge seeking and, retribution seeking energy in us that we have to fight against. Okay, so in that example, it was very clear to me that Will Smith has been demasculinized and just made a mockery of as far as his marriage as a whole goes from so many angles. And in that moment, I think that he thought, you know what? I can gain some of that back right now in this moment. Like this will be the slap heard around the world. And somehow or another I'll get my cards back that the public and society has taken from me as of recently. I'll get my you understand? Retribution is like, man, I can get all of that back. I could gain so much respect and admiration and, you know, my name being pushed in a different narrative if I do this. I think in that moment, now clearly, he can go back and well, I don't even know if he exactly has, but clearly he could go back in that moment and say he was wrong and he shouldn't have done that. But I'm just saying that's when you go seeking revenge, it's generally an emotional or hyper logical or hyper rational manner that you're acting in. Another example, half of the wars that are going on to this day, and that's like military war and all of that stuff, down to, like I said, a minor level of gang wars, as far as like cities and like Chicago and all of that stuff. Oh my gosh. It's revenge from somebody who sought out revenge because somebody before that sought out revenge because revenge was enacted upon them before that. And that was done because the revenge just goes back. That's my problem with people trying to use timelines and application and trying to marginalize things to, well, that was 10 years ago. Well, that was 15 years ago. Well, that was 100 years ago. That was 300 years ago. That was 2,000 years ago. That was yesterday. That was 5 seconds ago. Doesn't matter. This all falls under the fact that you're supposed to leave all that to God, because we get nowhere when we do that. Even even when somebody says something to you, see, it can be psychological as well too. Is what I'm getting at. Psychological and emotional. Even when somebody says something to you that's utterly disrespectful or hurts your feelings, and I struggle with this a lot, you're not supposed to say something back to, as to, I don't know, out disrespect them, or over defend your dignity and pride. You're not even supposed to, for real, people aren't even supposed to be able to contest that. When someone says something against you, when they slander your name, when they disrespect you, when they talk down on you, when they lie on you, you're not even supposed to like address that energy back in that manner. Now, yes, if someone's speaking ill of you, you want to counter it with the truth, or if someone's telling lies on you, but you all know what I'm saying. Somebody says something disrespectful, and then something disrespectful gets said in turn, or you know, someone spits on you, so you spit back on them. Someone causes you to lose your job or lose your property or lose someone that matters to you in life, and you seek revenge. Something happens that you don't agree with, or something that you are in disdain or just a rage about. So you go do something on a different tangent. Like you mad at someone you co-created a child with, so therefore you don't let them see the child. Um, he tried to kill my daddy, which is just one of the numerous excuses for revenge that George W. Bush used to pick up where George H. Bush left off, as far as all of these wars over here in the Middle East, from the Operation Iraqi Freedom going clear back to Desert Storm. See, that's a joke, and that was kind of like, no, well, no, not a joke, but see, that was a loose application amongst all of the other unjustifiable reasons that that holy war was waged. But yeah, he was serious about that when he had that little soundbite about like he tried to kill my daddy. Yeah, he didn't forget about that. It's like, nah, you can't do that. We got to follow up on that. The beef ain't done. Oh my gosh, what's going on in Israel and Palestine? Ugh. Now we can get real deep into that as to what exactly is going on. But all I know is this revenge seeking, like, to the utmost over there. Mm. All of that stuff, you supposed to leave it to God. And let me give you a fun. See, I like to take things outside of the box, because that box leads us astray. Let me give you a clever reason why you leave it to God. So, you know who the best undisputed applier of revenge and vengeance is, known to man? Not you. You actually suck at it. I suck at it. All of us suck at it comparatively to God. Oh, you want to talk about some revenge, some vengeance? That guy, that guy, yeah. That's how you do revenge and vengeance. Now, some people might think that vengeance and revenge are two different things. Okay, whatever. I have a connotation series. I might use both of those words and talk about it, but they can be used interchangeably. Okay. No man can do vengeance and revenge like God. To the point where when you try to take things in your own hands, when you try to act out vengeance or revenge, you take you take God out of the equation. It's like, oh well, you got it. Well, okay, I guess we'll go with that then. What you go ahead and do what you want to do. Best believe he had something in the lining for it, for everything. I see it like somebody just sitting here taking notes, like so and so said what? Hmm. So and so did what? Hmm. You advocated and campaigned for what? Hmm. All righty, I'll put that in, and we will come back to that. That's how it is. We'll talk about just a list. Oh man, none of that stuff goes unnoticed. None of that falls under the radar, if you will, when it comes to him. But it can just get taken off of the map and off of the drawing board by your actions. I sincerely believe that. And whatever your actions are, as I said earlier, they are microscopic and almost minute compared to what was going to happen. You see, you might not even see it when God rectifies all these things that are done in this world. When someone wrongs you, when someone hurt you, you might not even actually see it. You might not even hear about it. But best believe it happened or is going to happen or is happening at the moment, unbeknownst to you, more often than not. But you got to not cancel. It's like, think about wrestling, and I guess to give an analogy, and it's a tag team. You wrestling and whoo, then you go tag in your teammate, and then he come in and well, when you take revenge and retaliation and all that into your own hands, it's like God sitting outside of the ring, like, tag me in, and you don't never tag him in. You just stay in there, fight fight a 1-on-2 or a 1-on-3 or however many other wrestlers on the other team. You're just like, well, I'm just gonna fight the whole team myself. And outside of the little gimmickal folly applications, don't nobody ever win a you know it's a 2-on-2 and one guy just fights the whole team by himself, or it's a 3-on-3 and the first guy in the ring just stays in the ring the whole time and wrestles the whole team. Yeah, but seriously, that's in essence what you're doing. Like when that happens, you know what I'm saying? Ah, I'm gonna do this myself. Look, this is what I'm about to start doing. Whenever that happens, man, I'm gonna just do like this. That's gonna be my new thing. I'm gonna just be like, and that's me tagging God in and get right outside of the ring and keep it moving, going on to all right. Well, what's the next thing in life? Like keep it moving, cause best believe he. Oh gosh, I'm sitting here talking about wrestling. Imagine somebody wrestling and they just doing moves that you don't even like. Is that wrestling? Like you just be like, can is that legal? Is it, that's got to be in the Geneva Convention somewhere that you can't do that. Raining fire from the sky. What? It says right here that you can't even use napalm. Like, and his dude. I'm just saying. And last but not least, I'm gonna leave it here. If you do happen to hear of, or see, or know that something is being carried out that you may be able to correlate to what was done to you. For example, I don't know. You guys just know how it is. Somebody who, you know how they say those who live by the sword will die by the sword. Okay, that's a broad application. I'm sure you all understand that those who live by the sword will die by the sword doesn't necessarily have to mean this person had a sword and they killed people, so therefore someone with a sword will kill them. That doesn't necessarily mean that. That means like those who drug other people or deceive other people will most likely meet something in that same quadrant when it comes time for God to enact vengeance. Be like, oh man, this dude that was notorious for date. I don't want to use that word. The date exploiting drug that you put in people's drink or however you go about doing it. Like, man, this dude caught salmonella poison or got hepatitis. He got hepatitis E. He got hepatitis G. Something crazy like, dang, they got hepatitis like that? Like, you know. But my point is, like, when those things happen, you know, somebody who used to rob people or something, they came to their end during an attempted robbery. Or whatever happens, they got robbed. They got it happens. My point is, when it happens and comes back to this person, what you don't want to do, what you shouldn't do is be like, I told you. Mm-hmm. See, I knew it was gonna happen. Mm-hmm. See, that's what they get. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I told you. Hey, didn't I tell you? Hey, mm-hmm. Or maybe you don't even say that, but you're just thinking like, mm-hmm. I knew it. Uh-huh. And don't be out here wishing bad upon people or praying. Definitely don't do that, praying against them. See, I got this video about and it's called God's Set. And it kind of talks about divination in a loose I apply it loosely because I don't think divination is as specific as people want to get it. But here's one of the things that I'm going at. If you think that, or if you are praying for, or you are in heavy anticipation, or you are so sure about yourself that, like, oh, this is going to come back to you. I know it. I can almost see it happening. Or gosh, if you get to, and I know some people do this, they pray against others. See, that's that divination stuff too, because now you're basically using your belief in God and your subscription to God as some way of foreseeing what's going to happen. You don't be using God as no source for things that are going to play out in the future, because that's bad. And I see people and I hear people doing that a lot. So I'm going to throw that in this video. Like, there's a lot of that. And in that video, if you go and watch it, I said I chucked a grenade at that too, because that's all. And now that I'm taking it that far, I'll end it and say this. It's kind of a follow-up on that. There's a reason why I don't really go into denominations or religion even, and I don't like the word religion, and that is because I've had too many debates, or sat in on too many, or even just researched and seen the dispositions and presentations of too many people on too many different sides of the spectrum when it comes to religion. And they all think that they got it right, and they all think that the others are going to hell, or they all think that the others are going to have some different path of atonement because you don't know that. Nobody knows that. That's almost a form of retribution, and this divination in my mind too, because you get to these people saying these people are going to go to hell unless they do this, unless they accept this into their life. And you got these people over here like, well, either they say the same thing about these people that was said about them, or they say something like, well, people who ain't in God's proper set, implying that they are, man, well, they're gonna have to go through harder stuff. I done heard people say so much crazy stuff, like just looking into the future of what's gonna happen to other people. See, this people ain't gonna have to deal with the tribulation. You know what I'm saying? These people gonna get raptured out and not have to deal with that. These people are gonna have to deal with that. And just leave it to God. Only thing I can say is live your life, be yourself, and He'll take care of all of that. Whether someone's right or wrong. You know, a lot of times when people do stuff to you, this is what I'm saying, like, even trying to judge people like that is hard. It's too tricky to even try. Because a lot of times, well, as far as what I'm saying with the divination thing, you don't know what the fate of another person is, and you can't use your fate and your energy and your opinion and your mentality to be trying to predict what's going to happen to other people. First of all. Second of all, you just want to leave that revenge and retribution thing alone, period, because a lot of times you don't even know if you've been wronged. See, gosh, oh man, I'm just thinking about how much this even applies to me. That's not the point. I'm thinking of so many other things in this world, but I mean, it can even apply to me too. It does. But there's a lot of times where things have happened to me, and in that moment, or even maybe still to this day, I think I was wronged. But then there's also things that have played out in the form of maybe retribution or restoration or restitution paid in a worldly sense to me that came from him. People have taken things from me, and there's been times where I wanted to be like, man, I'm gonna go get that back. Or I'm gonna take something from them now. Or I'm just gonna seek revenge in some sense or form, man. Maybe they did something physical to me. So like, like the same action doesn't have to beget the same action. For example, just because somebody physically harms them, you can get revenge without physically harming them. You see what I'm saying? Just because someone doesn't physically harm you, that doesn't mean that the revenge might not be physical. Like there's people that haven't had anything done physical to them, but they go seek revenge physically. Does that make sense? There's people that have physically had things done wrong to them, and they go beyond physical. They hit you financially. You know what I'm saying? Economically, whatever, however you want to look at it. So my point is, you don't even know. More often than not, I believe when we even think about getting even, or when we even think about getting wrong or justice, it ain't even something that we can really look that far into, because some of it might be what was supposed to happen. I'm gonna give y'all a final example, and some of y'all can rock with this, some of y'all can't. When they rolled up on Jesus, you know who was ready to get it cracking? Peter was ready to get it cracking. He all but did get it cracking. Homie pulled it. He was ready to like set that mug off. And I get it. But think about that. Let's say he has set that mug off. Let's say he had, and look, man, I'm going to be real with you. That was the beauty of those 12 disciples, man, because ain't none of us shit, really. And all those 12 disciples from each angle showed like a nice little compass of how we can all not be shit. And something relates to us and all of them, I think. Really, at least if you're a good person, or maybe if you're a bad person. I think that was the beauty in it. They weren't perfect people. But yeah, I see why Peter wanted to get it cracking. But see, had he have got it cracking, how's the story gonna play out? You see what I'm saying? Had the actions that they did to Christ been retaliated on, how's the story gonna play out? You know, that's even in line with when Christ was like, "Yo, man, they gonna roll up on me one day, man. Man, they gonna get me." He straight up said that. In essence, I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, being a little more theatrical with it. But those who know. If you don't, go read your Bible. But you know, when Jesus made that declaration, Peter was in essence like, hell no. They gonna have to get through us. Like, no, we ain't gonna shoot. Like some gang stuff. That's not what they were doing, but that's the way it gets supplied. And you know, like, hey, we start throwing up gangs. Like they nah, son, they can't nah. The set. And Jesus had to be like, hey, shut that down. Better yet, well, technically he said, get behind me, Satan. But the point is, he shut that down because it's like, see, you already got revenge. And You got that mind state that I'm advocating against on your mind already, and like things can't play out according to the master plan if we all trying to cut people off and I don't know pre-revenge, you know, and then get post-revenge. Like just leave revenge alone. Leave all that stuff to God. I'm gonna remind myself that today. Remind yourself that today you thinking about something. Leave it to God. Deuces.